I started receiving messages. You know how sometimes you get a text from an unknown number that just says, "Hi." I block them, but sooner or later that same hi pops up from another number, and I block that one. Well, this started out like that, only the first message wasn't hi. It was, "We are not dead." They claimed to be using a future technology to send messages back in time, a warning of the world to come. The Horror Eternal presents We Are Not Dead. Chapter 12, Horror Hills, Part 3. The text stream ended on a dramatic hook, the fully unsheathed revelation of the now physical Watchers. Very cinematic, very cliffhanger. The thought that maybe I was being played by an extremely creative and, I suppose you'd have to say, bored writer crept into my thoughts once more in defiance of the undeniable experience of the trumpets. I suppose two things could be true. Brushing the momentary doubt aside, I refreshed the Reddit feed on my computer, hoping for another response from u/Rhea_Lamia. I suddenly saw myself chasing the same dopamine rush with these mysterious DMs as I had with the texts. I had become, a speed freak worthy of Philip K. Dick himself, only my drug came in the form of messages from the future. Again, not unlike Phil Dick. Jesus, I thought. I hoped I wasn't staring down the barrel of an aneurysm. There was no response waiting in my DMs. I spent the afternoon transcribing texts and checking my phone and DMs. Alma texted several times to see if any new messages had arrived. Later, as the evening approached, I returned to the apartment after a quick grocery run to find a new DM waiting. I clicked it open to read the following day's date and a time, 2:45 p.m. It wasn't clear how I would know who I was looking to meet there, but I knew I would be there, come hell or high water. But who was I meeting? Could it be not someone receiving messages like myself, but the actual author of the text, toying with me, seeking to take the charade to another level? Or maybe this was the big payoff they'd been building up to. Surprise, you've been punked. Either of these scenarios was admittedly more likely than the idea I was actually receiving texts from the future. But the trumpets. I considered telling Alma about the DM with its impossible reference to the Watchers, but decided to keep that new piece of the mystery to myself for now. It was around 6 p.m. I was burnt. Enough transcribing for one day. Good start. It was invigorating to write again, even if it wasn't actually my writing, so I decided to celebrate with a drink. Halfway through my second rum and Dr. Pepper, the text chime called out. I opened on expectation of yet another follow-up from Alma and found my Pavlovian desires positively fulfilled. Another text from the future, once more dramatically taking off from the latest terrifying plot twist. It read, "The forbidding shape of the Watcher's fully revealed form threw down a cold black shadow across the moon-soaked ground. A clattering rose up in the air, a vicious clicking and gnawing, something in the Watcher's gnarled form fighting to get out. A sudden plague of bodies flooded forth from the Watcher's monolithic frame. Small, shell-like creatures of long, jagged shape. Deep grooves and ridges ribbing their surfaces. Thin spidery legs like rootstocks beat the ground with flickering strokes, thousands of them, disproportionate to the size of the form from which they fled. The fast-moving swarm clattered all around us, streaming out toward refuge in the shadows of the nearby underbrush. As quickly as they burst forth, they were gone, and the eerie silence returned. The Watcher was still, menacing with its newly revealed appendages outstretched like scythes ready to cut. Then it moved. It appeared to turn, one of its rakes extending out ahead of it, pointing down the trail. Then weighty stalks began to rip free of their fibrous wrappings, and it was moving slowly forward on powerful limbs. It strode with a staccato rhythm, out of sync with the natural flow of time, flickering, freezing up, and snapping forward like a glitch on the screen of reality. Sadie and I followed, stopping and starting as we tried to match its stuttering pace, carefully maintaining a safe distance. Reaching a turn in the trail at the bottom of the hill, it continued forward, into the brush of a wooded area, the weeds and bushes caving under the weight of its sudden mass. We stepped off the trail, keeping up in its wake as it continued forward into a dense thicket, only to find ourselves jumping back when the long appendages suddenly raised up and began to swing wildly in the shadows, hacking away at the knotted undergrowth. We ducked, shielding ourselves from the rocks and dirt flying up from the maelstrom. Then it was quiet. Still, I looked up from my shielded eyes to see nothing in the darkness before us. The Watcher had seemingly vanished, leaving behind a fresh clearing. My mind crumbled as the image of Sylvia's face raked my consciousness once more. Only now I could see the reality of the image was just ahead of me. The fresh ditch carved in the hillside pulling me toward it. Sadie looked at me. Her expectant eyes told me she'd seen it too. I got up to my feet and started moving slowly toward the freshly stripped dirt, some dark curiosity pulling me into the shadows. Air turned cold against my skin in the moonlight. Sadie stayed back. My eyes adjusted to the darkness, a patchwork quilt of silver shining through the leaves above. The shadows faded to a light gray haze as my sight passed slowly over the clean-shaven earth. A trembling moved through my frame, certain of what I would find there. I braced, tracing the contours of my fears. The smooth curvature of skull-shaped bone leading down to deep black sockets, a nose bridge, teeth tucked underneath, barely breaking the surface of the soil. Her face, Sylvia's silent face, sleeping in peace, transposed over the horror of her remains. I dropped to my knees and slid my fingers into the dirt, gently moving it away to reveal more. There were patches of matted hair still attached to the skull in places, thick and black like Sylvia's. Still, the thought occurred to me. With the amount of decay, how could I be sure it was her? Could I trust the visions thrust on my psyche? Could it be a trick? How could I be sure? How could I know? Then the thought of her wedding ring came up in my mind. Of course, if she was still wearing it when she met her end, it would be all the proof I needed. My hands scooped the dirt away to find a shoulder joint, then scraped down the length of the humerus, exposing the elbow, then excavating the radius to the wrist and finally the hand. I ripped and tore at the earth with such urgency my scraped fingers turned red with blood, clearing away the phalanges until a tiny sparkle of moonlight glinted back at me. It was the ring. Sylvia's ring, the vintage band I'd bought at the antique jeweler's on Melrose. Unmistakable. I slid it over the bony joints, removing it, held it up in the moonlight to inspect. Something clenched inside as I studied the diamond engravings I knew so well, the last uncorrupted fragment of her being. My wife, my dead wife. I lurched with a sudden fright as Sadie moved past me to the edge of the clearing. She was rustling through the brush. "I saw something over here. Did you see it?" I responded, choking on the knot in my gut. "No, it's her." Sadie stood and turned to face me, holding up a large curved object, sleek yet grooved. I thought maybe a fallen branch until the gleam of the moon caught its surface, reflecting like a blade. Her eyes widened, then narrowed with a dangerous glee, as if something had come over her. "It's one of the talons. Must have broken off as it tore up the dirt." She turned her gaze up from the prize to me. "This proves they're completely corporal now. Physical evidence of an alien life form," Sadie continued as she moved toward me. "A sample that can be studied." She stopped at my side, finally taking notice of the object between my fingers. "What did you find?" I stood up, holding it out to her. "It's Sylvia. She was wearing her wedding ring." She set the talon down and reached for the gleaming adornment with both hands, running her fingers over its surface, studying it with covetous eyes. "I'm so sorry, Xavier," she said, then placed the band between two fingers and gently pulled it out of mine, drawing it close to examine. A sudden flame in her eye, a noticeable shift in attitude, a sudden rush of anxious pangs washed over me. "Can I said, reaching my open palm under her fingers. "I don't want to lose it." Then she spoke, her voice suddenly trance-like. "Can you hear? It's speaking to us." I hesitated, confused. "Who's speaking? The Watcher?" "No," she said. "The ring." "The what?" I said, feeling more uncomfortable at each word. Sadie continued. "You heard me. The ring. She's still there. She's speaking through it." I took one side of the band in my fingers. "Can I have that back, please? You're making me nervous." Sadie's forehead furrowed. The flames in her eyes burned me with the madness of recognition. Sylvia's long-lost visage of madness. Then she spoke. Murder in the Union, hate in the veil, make the blood run. That's what she says, Xavier. Don't you hear it? Hear her words? My mind was silent, no words. But a primitive fear was rising inside. Then Sadie yanked the ring away from me, opened her mouth and shoved it inside and began to chew. A scream erupted from me. No! Stop! Cold cracks and pops reverberated from her clenched jaw, teeth against platinum, grinding. Instinct jammed my fingers into her mouth. A sudden, crushing pain followed, teeth on bone, burning through my nerves, exploding. My fist reacted, a smashing blow to the upper bridge of her nose and forehead. She fell backwards into the dirt. The crunching didn't stop. I straddled her body in a frenzy, struggling to grip her jaws by the snapping teeth. She grunted and roared in defiance, clenching. Blood flowed, black in the pale light splashing from my fingers across her animal face. I shoved against the pressure, jamming my entire palm into her mandible vise, forcing it open, brutally filling it up. My fingers poked and gashed, feeling for the ring inside. She gagged and thrashed, gasping for air but finding none under the weight of my embedded paw. Then a convulsion, stomach juices pumping up from below, burning against my fingers. I felt the hard object inside, but couldn't get a grip. Her body suddenly lurched beneath me, and a lightning strike of pain tore through my upper shoulder and into my neck. I reeled, and she bucked me off. My teeth met the dirt below. I grabbed at the pain, felt the warmth of thick blood, looked up to see Sadie struggling to pull herself up as she gasped desperately for oxygen, the razor-sharp watcher's talon in her hands. She raised the wayward appendage up over her head, bloody mouth and teeth snarling like an animal as she grunted. Make the blood run! I swung my shoulder around as the pincer came slashing down, grazing against it, deflecting the blow with a numbing scrape that claimed a bloody swath of my shirt. I rolled over and pushed up to my knees, eyes searching for Sadie in the dust and confusion. A sudden glint from out of the dusty shadows and another blow came against my forearm and glanced off my hip, raking a tribute of flesh and fabric. I leapt up into a stride to put some distance between myself and Sadie, pivoted back to see her almost on me with another flailing blow. This time I threw up my hands to catch hers as she drew down on me. I raised my voice, screaming into the blank rage burning on her face. Sadie, stop! Her mouth opened and snapped at me with a primitive savagery. I twisted my grip on her arms to force the blade free, but she held on and her legs tripped over one another, buckling to the knees. I felt her weight go down and I let go. At once I became aware of the chorus in my head. Make the blood run. It had been there all along, a distant echo. Then Sadie repeated out loud in unison with the voices in my head. Make the blood run! Sadie paced, spitting blood, holding her weapon at the ready. Then she gritted her teeth and poked something out between their ivory grip. Moonlight glinted off the diamond mounting of the ring, taunting, defiant. She growled between her clenched maw. Come and get it, Xavier. Take my ring from this bitch. Or are you too much of a pussy? You always were a pussy. My breath became heated, scalding my throat dry. Sadie, what are you doing? Why are you saying this? She lashed back. That's why I went away, hun. That's why I ended up in the ground. It's all your fault. And deep down you know it, because you were too much of a pussy. Her words lit a blinding spark in my head, launching me headlong at her. She swang. I ducked and struck her torso, knocking her back into the dirt, my weight crashing down on top of her. I felt her legs kicking hard against me, rocks flying as I reached out, feeling for her arm, hand, anything that might swing the scythe. Found one, clenched her wrist, pulled myself up, spotted the other, the one with the blade, and slammed my hand down on the wrist against the hard earth beneath us. She kicked and growled from still gritted teeth, but the ring was no longer held in their clench. I gripped hard, trying to steady her, pushing the alien voices aside in my head as I spoke, now sternly but calm. Sadie, don't listen to them. You can block them out. I hear them too, but I'm telling you now, you can force them out. Her chest heaved, and she spit up into my face, a hard object striking just below my left eye and falling into the dirt. I saw the glint and reached for it. The ring. Then Sadie swung her body over, and I went down as I clasped the errant band. The talon slammed against me, a grazing indirect blow, and Sadie sprung up, backing away. Holding the ring tight in my hand, I pulled myself up to face her. Then I felt a powerful vibration cut through me and turned to see a row of watchers. I continued around to see that they were surrounding us on all sides, their bodies seeming to emit an unearthly vibration that sounded like a dirge in the suddenly quiet air. A terror rose up inside. I fixed my eyes back on Sadie in the stark shadows of the dry moonlight and met another face staring back. Sylvia, my long-lost love in the flesh. If you have enjoyed this program, please like, review, and share. Spread the word. Help us build an audience to change the future. The Horror Eternal presents We Are Not Dead. Written, produced, and performed by Roy Burdine. Sound design and mix by Mark Labib. The Horror Eternal and We Are Not Dead are copyright 2026 Roy Burdine. This has been a Spiral Opus audio production. Also from Spiral Opus, don't miss Mindraker, Background Anger, the story of a psychic assassin on a mission from God. Season 1 available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Monster Forge. We make monsters.